Hello.
Hello.
Oh no, there we go. That awkward moment when I got really lazy and I forgot to put the right icons in.
Oh.
Because
Okay.
I just sort of woke up and opened up XSplit without really changing everything. So now you guys have to deal with me editing XSplit real quick. But hello! Welcome.
Hello, Calhoun. It is me. Hold on. I'm going to move my mic really quick.
Are you Keanu Reeves from Point Break? The gears are turning. He's about to make a joke.
Huh? No, sorry. I legitimately blanked out of existence for a moment.
Oh, man. This week should be very interesting because we have almost an entirely new roster, which has never been done before, except that one time that there was an entirely new roster of people that wasn't me, Push, Nan, Spazzy, or a Shadow Link.
Unprecedented diversity. Oh, God. Why am I remembering Star Wars interviews? What?
You got issues, man.
I was watching Mr. Plinkett's Star Wars reviews like a few weeks ago, and I think they're coming back to me now.
Oh, no.
You know me.
We're still waiting on Triss. He's taking his sweet time, but he should be on soon. But today, I mean, you can see on screen who we have, but we have Triss, we have Liquid, and we have our special guest, BriHard Gaming. Brian Harding himself is here in the flesh to talk about Sonic Forces and how he played it 3 times this week. Is that correct?
I played it 3 times this week.
How many times total have you played Sonic Forces now?
About 4 or 5.
I was gonna say 5, but
not as
quite insane.
It is okay. So I'm making a shmup. I'm making a little shoot 'em up like Danmaku Unlimited 3, and I was like, it'd be really cool, like if you could see the character from, so Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, how it has like those ninja run elements.
You just jumped between 3 different video games, but all right.
So okay, so hold the fuck up, hold the fuck up. I'm talking. Okay.
Just go, just say it.
So I was like, the part, like sometimes you just like can go and he'll like leap up and down between obstacles and slash the sword, and I'm like, that'd be really cool in a shmup. But I'm like, the way Ninja Gaiden Metal Gear Rising is designed isn't necessarily intuitive into that camera angle, and I'm like, what is though? Sonic the Hedgehog, specifically Sonic Generations, and then the other games in the Boost formula. Unfortunately, under that banner, Forces exists. So I've been comparing how each game was designed in terms of its level design and how the Boost formula was handled. So I decided, let's play Forces again. And then I was like, I should compare this to Generations, because I was going to do a video on that. And then I never did, because I got really fucking lazy. And then I decided to focus on my game more. And that's why my channel is basically dead right now. And so I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I got so obsessed with why Forces was so bad that I played it 3 times in a row just to figure out why I didn't like it.
You're a masochist.
Listen, you're talking to someone who doesn't like Persona 5, yet he beat that game like 3 times to figure out why he didn't like that game.
At least
you're a contradictory
committed.
masochist.
Oof.
What?
Oof.
At least you're committed.
Yeah.
Like, unlike Pro Jared, am I right, fella? No.
There it is. By the way,
at some point, I didn't think it happened 5 or 6 minutes into the stream, though.
By the way, during Brian's entire spiel, I went to check my email and I got this very obvious fake Netflix email.
Oh,
And
no.
it's too funny not to share because it's got Reggie like, with
Scary
Netflix
deal.
announcing Netflix for the 3DS. Do you already it's
But a new suing. No, a new suing. A few quick questions. I'm trying to read that. That's full of typos and everything.
yeah, a new sir.
I love how this reads like it should be a Halloween or at least an October ad, but it's nowhere near it. That's hilarious.
Also, the picture.
What an idiot!
Yeah, I don't. Why'd they use that image? Why did they use that image?
They knew Reggie's relevant.
Oh my god.
I hope Reggie's doing okay.
He's
a
doctor now. Yeah. Dr. Fizame.
Fucking fantastic.
That better be a title we can get in the mobile Dr. Mario game.
Dr. Reggie.
So Brian, we've talked about Sonic Forces before. I guess this is the thing we're talking about, and I think we've always kind of like gone on with the idea that like it's the least worst Sonic, but it's still really bad.
Yeah,
like outside of like the actual busted, broken games, it's the worst one.
Yeah, this is a game that is polished to the point where there are basically like you're never going to encounter a bug for the most part.
Yeah,
but the level design and the physics of the game just are not fun to use by any means. For some reason, there are enemies that are just... I was looking at beta footage of that game, and there are just enemies that were just completely removed for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe those are the buggy ones.
No, I've seen people mod them back in, and they work just fine. Like, they literally just got rid of them because... And I was watching an interview, and like it was really fucking obvious that the developer... Like, the main director, producer, whoever it was basically like, I wanted you to be able to just, like, have fun boosting through the entire game. And so, a big problem with this that I noticed is that because they made it... So, in previous Sonic games with the boost formula, the way you would build your boost gauge is that you either beat enemies, collected rings, or got wisps. What Sonic Forces does is it removes rings. So that means there have to be more enemies, but it can also just throw rings at you like a madman because it doesn't affect your boost gauge. Oh. So you end up having an excess of both, and the game just kind of falls into monotony. Early on, like, the levels do have certain elements that... So, like, a really cool thing about... I'm probably going to do a freaking terrible job explaining this. But Sonic games normally have multiple paths that intertwine with each other. That's pretty much how everyone plays Sonic. You can play a Sonic game, and you get it. But if you know the stage design well enough, you can break between those multiple paths at any point. So you end up with a Sonic game that is multiple paths intertwined with each other. What Forces does is it takes a single path, copies and pastes it next to itself, stretches it out a little bit in some parts, or smushes it, and then it tries to intertwine them again, but still have them be like a single path. So essentially what ends up happening is you encounter... Normally in Sonic, you have the hard route, you have the medium route, you have the low route, and each one will offer a different kind of platforming challenge for the player. Whereas with Sonic Forces, they're all kind of a flat difficulty. It's just a difference in how fast you will go in one of them. So there's not really this much variety. There's not much this need to adapt. You do kind of have those moments that make like Unleashed and Generations so fun, where it's like, yeah, I know this stage. I can just do the thing. Or I can break the logic, where it's like sometimes you can jump and then boost, and if you know exactly when to do that, you can cut across one path to another. But Sonic Forces doesn't really allow that. It also does a weird thing where he has an arc if he boosts in midair. He doesn't have the drift. I also noticed that despite the slide being in the game, it's only used for one very specific optional path throughout all the levels. It makes no sense. I still don't understand it. The game is weird. It's incredibly mediocre. I whether or not you had fun with it or like if you liked it, that's fine. That doesn't change the fact that it's a mediocre game.
Well, would you say it feels forced?
I'm gonna fucking beat someone's ass right now. Colin, get the lube, get the Glock. I'm going in on this boy.
It's I don't know. It's not the best Sonic game, but I appreciate the shorter levels. Less memorization is better for me with my memory issues. But like, I don't think the problem with Force is that there's less memorization. There's just less to do.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Like, you compare that to the first level of Generations, and it's night and day.
They are both roughly the same in terms of how quickly you can beat them. They're both about, I believe Generations first level is about a minute 30. Or you know what? Let's just take this one. There's this later level in Sonic Forces.
I know what you're talking about.
It's the one where, let's see, is it the one where at the end the birds come from behind and drop bombs near the end of the stage?
Maybe. I just remember there's like the third to last level. The last time you play as Modern Sonic and Modern Sonic alone, the entire level is like 30 seconds long because you can just keep hitting X and nothing touches you and you never have to change course.
And like the level is on a constant downward slope, right? Yeah, and it's like you're going towards Eggman's base or something.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the level. This stage is about a minute 30. It's one of the quote-unquote harder levels. There is less to do in it than the very first stage of Sonic Generations.
Oh my god.
The thing about Sonic games that I don't think a lot of people understand is that even though these are games that are marketed as being about going fast, they've always been about going fast once you know how the level is actually constructed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like literally a speedrunning thing, and that's why most of the stages are designed as obstacle courses. And Forces is just not designed like an obstacle course whatsoever. It is literally hold X to win.
Sounds quite effortless.
Yeah.
That does not change the fact that it was mediocre. Opinion, not fact. It's a pretty hardcore fact. I don't know what to tell you, fella.
Listen, I'm not well versed in a lot of the later Sonic games, but the only real thing I know about Forces that I saw, there was a video going around of somebody who, once they got to a certain level where it like plays itself for a solid like 2 minutes, and this video is just a guy making a sandwich on webcam while the game plays itself.
I figured this is what you were talking about, and that is like a pretty good summation of the level design.
Okay.
It doesn't help that after that segment, and God, I remember this game too well now after playing it 5 times, you get the wisps, right? And typically, what you'll have at this moment, I'm not sure why, but this is a very common thing I've noticed. Most people will be using a wisp that will let them use... they'll be using a weapon that lets them use the electric wisps. And the thing about the electric wisp is that you follow a trail of rings. There's no light speed dash in this game for whatever reason. It is just like, it's one of those things where Sonic's tool set from Generations got divided between him and the Avatar. But for the Avatar, it became a wisp. And so when you use the wisp, you just hold Y and it makes you blaze through the level and destroys any enemy that's in your path. So it's really effortless. It's all sensationalism with no substance. Like, yeah, that's the best. That's the best way to describe Sonic Forces. Hold buttons to win. Now, that's such a blanket statement because you could just have anyone say, "Oh, you could do that in Generations. You push the square and then you boost, and then you push the B and then you slide. You push the button." But I'm like, no, this is literally like, just hold one button, let go of the joystick, the game plays itself.
Man,
I don't know.
You don't even need to slide in Forces. It's like there, but you don't do anything with it.
Yeah, literally that stage I told you where it's on a downward slope, that's the only stage that uses the slide for an optional section, and it is still slower than the fastest route in that game. God.
Yeah, I think when I made Matt play it at MagFest ago, I think we had the same thing where he was like, "Doesn't this game have a slide?" And we just like we just didn't like remember because we never have to use it, and it's mapped to like a button you never have to press.
Yeah,
because you really only need to jump or use the wisp in that game, and that's it, or boost.
Yeah,
depending on who you're playing as.
Yeah.
I think there's
Why
like
even include it in the first place?
I think there's like some things about Sonic Forces that are just like outright terrible, like outside of like a opinion thing. Like I think Classic Sonic is the worst sections of that
Classic Sonic
Classic Sonic plays like a brick with legs. He feels
really does.
He feels so bad.
As I've told you, right? It feels like he's shifting between 3 different modes of speed. And I think the weirdest part is that when you get the running shoes power up, where he goes really fast, that thing's over in like barely a third of the time he has it on in other Sonic games.
Yeah, it's like 10 seconds.
I wouldn't even say 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's being like way too generous. Wait, all right, I'll be keeping my money today. Okay. I don't know how this is gonna get me to like say, oh, Forces is actually really great now. I'll do anything for money.
Remember that super chat is badass, and you should use it.
Yeah, Classic was my favorite part.
Oh no.
Yeah, I love Classic. I love the part where the game turns into an auto-scroller for 40 seconds and the platforming challenges are boring as hell. By the way, that was the only part of Sonic Forces I did not replay more than one.
He got cut off. He meant to say favorite part of Generations.
Okay, pizza dude man guy, like you're officially in the good boy zone. I'm gonna come over and punch you with my lips.
but yeah, it's weird because I mean Generations. I remember a lot of people being like, "Man, Classic Sonic's bad in Forces, but do you remember in Generations when he didn't have momentum?" And it's like, yeah, Classic Sonic in Generations doesn't have that like classic, like actual Classic Sonic momentum, but like. In this game, they just made him really slippery to compensate for not having any momentum. He still plays like a brick, but he also just slips and slides all over the place.
Little quirks I noticed that really bugged me. In Sonic Generations, if you're playing on an Xbox controller and you hit X, he'll immediately go into like a super fast spin dash.
Yeah.
That's completely gone from Forces. You have to hold B, then A, and it's not nearly as fast. Also, because this game just decided there's no like inertia or momentum or anything, because this game really feels like it has no physics. If you're running up a, like I guess you could say, not like a curve upward 90-degree-ish slope, if he's just normally running, he's not gonna make it because his speed gets capped while he's running. Because like I said, there's like no inertia. You have to spin dash up there to do that. Or I think even if a boost, the only other way to do it is to be hit by a boost pad. That has its effect wear off like so quickly. It feels like Sonic is running into an invisible wall of water rather than like naturally slowing down. This game's physics is terrible. There are moments where I could see why they were that way. It is very clear that they are trying to replicate Sonic's how Sonic functioned in the Genesis games at times, because like he will not bounce above an enemy if you hit them from below, but he would do that in Generations, which is something he didn't do in Genesis. But he will bounce off them if you hit them from above, which is what he did in the original games. But it's like so scripted to be in such a specific way that the game has very little freedom in how they play the game. Know what I mean? Like, for as scripted as Uncharted is, it at least let you play the game how you wanted to play it for the most part. There are definitely iffy moments with that in Uncharted 2, even though I like that game. And you can definitely see it fall apart more like in Uncharted 3 and 4, but like, you still had a lot of leeway in there. Like, but here it's just, I really don't know how to describe it. Like, there we go. There you go. It's, yeah.
No, I definitely kind of get what you're saying when it comes to games that are more like scripted, and you get some of them you have leeway to go with, and others it feels like you're more or less just working with a slightly interactive movie.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
sister was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 recently. She's seen the Nikki Jakey video talking about how scripted Red Dead 2 is at times, where if you want to do one thing your own way, the game pretty much insta-kills you.
Oh,
For trying,
What?
yeah.
oh.
There are moments in Red Dead Redemption 2 where it wants you to do something in such a specific way that if you do not do it, it basically makes you die or fail the mission automatically.
Jeez.
I remember my sister tried to do one thing her own way, and it was a moment actually from the Nikki Jakey video. I think you're on a train or something. She likes Rockstar's games way more than I do. Because she likes the freedom they give you. Normally. Not so much the case in Red Dead 2. And when she hit that part, she was really frustrated. It's like the one reason she really likes Breath of the Wild is that it lets her, as she describes it, she can be a menace to society in Hyrule. She can light the entire forest on fire if she wants. But yeah, it sucks when a game is so scripted you can't really do anything about it. Now, what you obviously want to do here is not the Red Dead 2 way, where if you try and do anything out of the norm, like the game just punishes you immediately.
Mhm.
What you want to do is more like the Uncharted thing, where the level design naturally funnels you into a certain logic. Like the opening of Uncharted 2, where you got to climb the train after it's off the edge. There's like only one way to tackle it. It's an incredibly scripted set piece moment, but the level design naturally funnels you into just that single way of thinking. Know what I mean? So it works. You're not exactly doing anything of your own volition, but because there's only really one way to do it, it feels kind of like it's of your own volition. You get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my cat. He's rubbing between my legs.
Ooh.
Hi, Dexter.
So since I came in a little bit late, I'm curious, what got us started on such a passionate talk about the level design of Sonic Forces?
He played it 3 times this week.
This week, specifically this week.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the
Wow.
thing. Sonic
I think in
Forces.
general, okay.
Here's the thing.
BriHard
Sonic
the
Forces.
masochist.
Sonic Forces is not that long of a game. A guy beat it in under 2 hours and sent it in for a Steam refund on launch day. You might have heard about this.
Yes, definitely.
And surprisingly, when you skip all the cutscenes, that game's like barely an hour. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And when you know the level design well enough, it's probably not even like 40 minutes. It's really just that quick. So when I say I beat it like 3 times in a row, know that I only really played it for about 2 hours. Whereas, and let me tell you, after I beat that game, I went and played Generations. And never before have I experienced such euphoria in life. I was so happy. I actually snapped back to reality. And I replayed like the first stage of Generations just like 3 times in a row because I'm like, yeah, I got to get used to this. Then I did like Crisis City or whatever it's called, the Sonic 06 stage.
City.
And so because I was playing the PC version, because I mainly played it back in the day on my Xbox 360, which is where all my records are. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna like go and get my records back to where they were like on the 360. And I just like played that game for like 6 hours straight, just trying to like improve my record on certain stages like Crisis City, City Escape, Green Hill Zone. And I was having a blast while doing it. like I don't want to touch Forces ever again. Like this is it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna uninstall. I'm gonna install the Project Unleashed mod, and I started playing those games. Those games definitely not meant to work with Generations physics, but Generations controls are just so much better.
Mhm.
You kind of find your own workarounds for certain parts, but then I went back and I played the 360 version for a little bit, where like the level design is built to accommodate for his physics. And no, it's still like a really fun time just doing the daytime stages because the Werehog sucks. And I really had fun with those stages. I didn't play Sonic Colors because Colors has a lot of stages, but like really only the key stage of each area is really that fun. And the level design is like kind of more like a Dimps styled Sonic level design. Like there's more emphasis on platforming, but there's also like a bigger emphasis on just kind of like boring hallways.
Okay.
Which is why I like Generations. It like balances like the two parts of Colors and Unleashed for me. A lot of people prefer Unleashed daytime stages to Generations just modern Sonic stages, and I completely understand why. Like Generations definitely has a bigger emphasis on spectacle, whereas Unleashed has a bigger emphasis on challenge, and they're both really good in their own ways. And I still really like them. I think you can prefer one over the other, and regardless of like how good one actually is over the other, like I think you can like easily understand why one might prefer one over the other. Like I won't get upset about that. Yeah, I like Sonic, guys. The ending to Secret Rings was badass. Oh god, no! I remember when I first beat Secret Rings as a kid, and I saw that ending where Sonic's like giving what was his name? No, there were so many genie names. I was gonna say La Jin, like the Mystic Genie of the Lamp, but that's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Eraser Jin or whatever.
What is it? Eraser Jin? Yeah,
Eraser Jin or something.
Yeah, that's his name. I was thinking Alafuela, and I can't remember what Alafuela is from now that I'm thinking about it. Hold up. Alafuela? What is this? Is this a thing?
I remember picking up Sonic and the Secret Rings at Nintendo New York. Because the first time I went to Nintendo New York, I was there for like the Nintendo Power 20th anniversary party.
Oh, okay.
Which really dates the story, but I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of the point. Because this is back in 2008, and I remember I wanted to pick up a game at Nintendo New York while I was there, and I was I was really heavily deciding between is Superstar Sluggers the one on the Wii?
Mario Super Sluggers, yeah.
Super Sluggers.
Superstar Baseball's the GameCube one.
It was either that or Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Wow.
And I remember.
Sorry.
So here's the deal. There's like a good chunk of my life where I was really like out of the loop when it came to newer games.
Yeah.
Like I spent like the first chunk of my life playing PS1, PS2, and then like just playing a bunch of emulators on my laptop. Once like the 360, like late PS2, early like 360 Wii. Once that kicked in, I was like super out of it. So like there would be these instances where I'm like, oh, Sonic's supposed to be good, right? So I'd buy a new Sonic game, and then I'd go, no. And that led to me buying Sonic 06 when I bought my 360. Because I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, it's Sonic. How can it be bad? And same thing with Secret Rings. And I brought it home, and I went, yep, I'm going to GameStop. I'm trading this in. This is not...
Oh. Did you never get a chance to play the stupid party mode?
I did play the stupid party mode. because I would play with my sister. We'd play video games.
I remember when I got my Xbox 360, Sonic 06 was on like my top list of demands for that system. Right next to Gears of War. Can you guess which game I liked more?
Sonic, obviously.
Sonic 06 was fun to break.
It was Halo 3. That's right. I bet you bastards forgot that's a game.
My 360 launch palette, when I bought a 360, these are the games that I bought. Get ready to judge me harshly. I really wanted the 360 because of Halo 3 and Dead Rising. Dead Rising was like the one game that it was like really made me want a 360, and then Halo 3 pushed me over the edge. But I also got Gears of War 1. I got Call of Duty 3. And then I got Sonic 06 and History Channel Civil War.
What? Let me see this.
What? It's a real video game with a badass multiplayer mode that's incredibly unbalanced.
It got a 5 out of 10 by IGN.
It's not good!
What are you talking about? This game looks straight up badass. Sniper Elite can't compete. Oh my god, wait, what?
What?
They made more?
They made more, yeah. They made like a little standalone expansion pack.
Civil
and then
War,
there's
the
also
game,
there's also a history
Battle for the Pacific.
Yeah, there's a History Channel World War II game.
Oh my god, Colin, I'm so sorry.
Why was this made?
I don't know. For stupid idiots like me that was like, oh, a Civil War game, that's fascinating. That could be cool. And then, like,
I mean,
it's funny because, I don't know, I'm sure, like, the funny thing about that game is that it's probably not that terrible, but, like, the biggest complaint everyone has is, like, guys, it takes a minute to reload. This is the fucking worst. Why did we do this? Muskets suck, you know?
damn, bros. Damn.
Damn.
Damn. Damn.
You know, speaking of buying things, now that we're on that weird topic, there was a time back when I still lived in Mexico, and my dad used to make frequent trips to the United States. I asked at one point when he went, "Hey, could you please get me Sonic and the Secret Rings?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then he comes back, and this was on one of my birthdays actually, and it turns out that he brought back, of all things, Wii Fit. And you know, looking back, I am so thankful that he brought back Wii Fit instead of Sonic and the Secret Rings, because, you know, it's only later in life that you realize how awful some things are. And, you know, I genuinely enjoy Wii Fit.
Sonic and the Secret Rings is terrible. Wii Fit just calls you, like, obese for a minute, and then you move on in life.
And then gets in Smash.
Oh my god, that is
Listen,
true.
if we're talking, like, bad purchases or purchases you regret, 2012, I think, is when this came out. I'm in, like, early high school, so at the time, it's one game coming out for the 3DS that I regrettably really wanted because I didn't know better. I had to get... I bought a $40 game using just coins. So, like, dimes, nickels, pennies, a couple quarters. It was bad.
Masochist.
And you're right, and it was Paper Mario Sticker Star. I regretted that so much. I spent that entire game. Like, no, it might get better. I 100%ed the whole game, and my whole experience was basically a matter of that's it. And no, that was a horrible experience.
Oh my god.
I remember one kid in school, back in high school, this is like before Final Fantasy VII had hit like the PSN store. This one guy had it, and he's like, I'll give it to you for like $15. I guess I came with a bag full of nickels, dimes, and quarters for him, and I still feel really bad about it. But also, like, because, like, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I could have gone to Walmart, just, like, dumped it in that coin machine and gotten $15, like, in actual paper money. Like, that would have been fine. But I know no better. I was in high school. I didn't really give a about Walmart. I wasn't, like, making any other money. Anything I did get was just, like, scraps from, like, doing chores around the house. And yeah. Wait, what's this? Oh, Colin saying he'll be right back, fellas. The early 3DS was something kind of fascinating. I remember when the 3DS was first coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Professor Layton imitation called Dr. Locktrick. I'm not sure if you guys have like actually heard of this game.
I have not.
It is a very obvious. We want to be Professor Layton. I believe it is from Konami. I never beat this game. I played it for a few hours. I got a few chapters in. I think it was divided by chapters, but I just remember not really liking that game. The game wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't like as highly engaging as something like Professor Layton, Dr. Layton. What the hell am I saying? Let me see. I don't really remember like you have to remember this was a 3DS launch title. My memory's pretty hazy. It had a very nice aesthetic. I remember one of the early games I got for it was Gabriella's Ghostly Groove.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a game called Gabriella's Ghostly Groove. It is a sequel, or I believe it is a remake of a Wii game about Gabriella's Ghostly Groove. What? The game is like, it's a rhythm game, and it's like, it's mediocre.
First of all, it's Gabriel's.
Is it Gabriel's?
Yes, I searched it. Gabriella didn't come up as Gabriel's.
Okay. Well, you know what? Gabriella sounds way better than Gabriel's.
It's okay, Walmart gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, but like...
What?
Sunk costs. Like, you can go up to someone, say Sonic 06 is bad, hand it to them, ask them what they'll rate it, and they'll say like 5 out of 10. When that thing's like a 2 at best.
Well, I'm saying because when I Google search it, the other results are a 6 out of 10 from Nintendo Life, a 62% on Metacritic, and then a 4 out of 5 from Walmart.
Let me see.
One of things is not like the others.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, this game, like, it has a cute aesthetic, but like otherwise it's just kind of like, yeah, why would you play this game?
Because you hate yourself.
Oh no, I'm looking at gameplay right now. This game is cute. It's just like really mediocre. I think there's nothing more offensive than like buying a game you really want to like, playing it and realizing it's just really average.
Yeah, that's
like,
that was me getting really excited for Red Steel.
Yeah?
Oh man.
Yeah? I think though, for me, no, the game lost my mind. A rhythm game I was very excited for that ended up just being okay was like Persona 4 Dancing All Night.
That's fair.
And then I played, and then for some reason I decided, you know what? I'm gonna get Persona 3 Dancing Moon Knight, and I bought it used because I'm like, I'm not giving Atlas my money. I don't like modern Atlas. So I say this, yet I bought like a single song for the game. I played it. They added a new feature that is beyond superficial. It does not change how you play that game. And yeah, the Persona dancing games are just super okay. And I think like the main reason behind this is, ask anyone, they're going to tell you, first of all, terrible use of screen space. Just awful. But like, it's a dancing game, but you're not like just dancing it, where like you're making the character dance. You're like hitting the rhythm of the song instead. And there's like a weird clash in that doesn't necessarily register, I should say.
So in regards to the thing with screen space, I mean, it's very similar to another arcade kind of rhythm game called the Sega Maiamai.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You do know, or you don't know?
I believe I know what you're talking about.
So basically, for anyone that doesn't know it, picture a washing machine.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Picture a washing machine with a screen in it, and that is the Sega Maiamai. It is ridiculous.
What?
I'm dropping a picture of it in our.
It's like, okay, so it's got like so you know like where you would be looking at the laundry in it. It's got like this outer ring, and you like hit these panels in tandem with it, or and you like move your hand across with it too. I believe,
it's like
right?
An incredibly low res image of
Yeah, I'm
Oh wait,
adding
you know
it.
it's fine. It takes up a huge chunk of space on the stream. Never mind, we're good.
Why?
Yeah, but that's like see, this image is like fine. This is like those levels of fine. Like these aren't they're fun. I wouldn't say this is like an exceptional rhythm game, but like it's still fun, but like it uses its screen space more methodically and effectively than like Persona does.
Well, it's funny because these have, I want to say, like 4 or 5 songs from Persona 4 Dancing All Night, and its use of the screen is better than the games do.
Also, Brian, thank you for reminding me. I gotta pre-order Musenix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
The physical comes out in like a week.
If you like it, tell me. I think I have it on PC, and I thought it was really okay. Let me see. The only thing about the Persona dancing games that he likes, the only good thing, okay, which are almost never better than, the Persona
The remixes,
remixes are like kind of spotty in that regard.
Oh no, I lied. I didn't mean Musenix. I meant Sidus Alpha.
Okay,
which is a completely different title.
Now you're making the right decisions.
Yeah.
I like Sidus. I do like Sidus.
Yeah. Oh, it comes out the 14th. It comes out in 3 days.
Yeah.
Time to you know.
Yeah, I like Sidus. I like Vose too, but Vose is a little weird.
They added the controller update makes that game way too easy. I know everyone bitched that you can only play that game in handheld mode, but that was like literally the best thing about it.
Yeah, that
is that it like perfectly encapsulated the arcade like touchscreen rhythm game.
You know what's badass about the Switch?
What is?
If you're playing a game and there's a blackout, it just like immediately switches
works.
to portable.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first experience with this was like a few months after the Switch came out, but I had a blackout like 2 days ago, and it just like switched to portable play. And you know, every single time it happens, I'm still astonished, and I'm like, wow, it's so cool. Video games are, to quote Colin, video games are pretty badass. I adore the Switch. I really do. You're not going to get the best version of a game on the Switch. Literally look at Mortal Kombat 11 and tell me I'm not right with this. But I appreciate that that's a function. Also, Mary Skelter 2's coming out in the West, but we're not getting the PS4 version.
Yeah.
Because I guess like the people localizing it, Idea Factory, are just like, man, those Sony censorship policies, they ain't great. I hear Mary Skelter is a very good game. I believe Mary Skelter 2 actually comes with the first bundled inside of it.
Yes, it does.
And it uses the systems for Mary Skelter 2 in it, so it's a much better version of the first. So, what I'm saying here is, please buy Mary Skelter 2. I will be buying Mary Skelter 2, and I am not sure if it's a good game. If it ends up being okay, feel free to yell at me on Twitter. My handle's on screen.
I went on vacation the last week, and like, I think every time I go on a trip, the Switch really like sells itself. Because what's great about it is that not only is it portable, so that way when you're like in a car, on a plane, in your hotel room, like you can just play it willy-nilly and you're fine. In any comfortable configuration you want. But like even the docked setup is so like tiny and minimal that you can just set it up. Like you can just set it and forget it, and it takes up like no room, and you can still have people, you know, hop on and play whatever the hell they want on it. And that's real magical. That's really magical to experience. It's just to have like the Switch docked and people just boot up like Mortal Kombat 11 or Duck Game or Minecraft or whatever, and they're able to play that. But if you want to just like chill out and play Final Fantasy X like my friend did, you just can. There you go.
If you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for you. They've they've never updated the portable mode.
Oh.
So even the Torna expansion, garbage looking.
They should,
like
they really ought to give that game the like extended portable mode clock speeds like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Mortal Kombat 11 do.
Yeah,
it needs those
also,
extra clock speeds bad.
Mr. Xanabar is asking, does anyone know if Dragon's Dogma on the Switch is good? Yes, I am playing it on Switch right now. It is very good. I am liking that game.
Oh, nice.
It's one of those games my sister likes more than me, though. Literally, she got it on the 360, and she played that game through to completion, and she doesn't understand why I don't really care about it. I think for the longest time, I could only get to the part where you're transporting, like, the boar to the castle, and it's like Mercedes is there with you, and you're going through this canyon. It's very early in the game. I never made it more than like 2 hours in, but like right now I've definitely made it past that. There's like some sinister underground organization I just defeated in the game. Still early on. I'm only like 5 or 6 hours in. Yeah, I usually never play Portable 2 Pizza. It's just when it happens and there's a blackout and you're just like in the mood to keep playing, you kind of keep playing. Or if you got to go somewhere, you just take the Switch and like play Final Fantasy 9. It's pretty good.
That is actually like one of the more kind of like ironies of the Switch is that I actually play it. The most time I play the Switch is actually on my computer monitor. And not on a TV or in handheld mode, but it's like docked to my monitor. But handheld's cool. I like it. I like that it's a feature. I still do it. There's a game that just came out yesterday that runs better in handheld mode than docked mode. I don't know how they managed that one.
Wait,
but
really?
Yeah, it's called Saints Row the Third.
Oh.
Oh my. I think we should talk about this port. I think we should really
Didn't
really
they
talk.
just delay that patch?
I do want to add on, there is another game that actually kind of runs better in portable than docked, and it's The Flame and the Flood.
Mm-hmm. Well, Breath of the Wild also did too at launch.
It did, yes.
Where handheld mode, where like they were still ironing out docked mode, so like docked mode ran kind of on par with the Wii U version, but in handheld you were like, oh, it's perfect.
It just works.
It just works. Trademark, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, go on. What were you gonna say? What other game?
No, I said The Flame and the Flood.
Oh yeah,
was
the Flame and the Flood.
Yeah, like it. So for some reason, I'm just gonna like brush over this real quick. They downgraded the assets that are on screen for docked mode, yet it is still using assets on par with like the PS4 version in portable. I don't understand. Anyways, let's go back to Saints Row the Third.
Give me a second.
A mystical journey. Colin, serenade us with your tale. He's dead!
Yeah, no, sorry, I had to... I was taking a sip of coffee. So, Saints Row the Third is a game that I've actually been really excited to come to Switch, because I've always liked my GTA games, I've always liked my Saints Row games, except 4. Really don't like 4. Because it's basically Prototype 3, and not a GTA clone. But Saints Row 3 is like a really nice balance between the two. And I mean, hey, if they're going to bring that one to Switch, I mean, do it. I would prefer 2, but that's not going to happen ever, because 2's code is like long gone and also bad. But I've been excited for Saints Row 3. I've even been wanting to try to get a review copy for months now, and I've emailed multiple different press people, including accidentally emailing THQ Nordic because I thought they were involved, but I guess they aren't. It's just Koch Media and Deep Silver. But I was emailing all these people, couldn't get a review code. I almost got an early copy because a local independent video game store that loves to break street date was selling copies early. And I was like, oh, I could play Saints Row while I'm on my trip, but I didn't. So I ended up going to GameStop day one, picking it up. I got that little weird deluxe edition thing they were doing, where if you pre-order the game, you get a quote-unquote deluxe edition that comes with like alternate covers and a poster and all that, which is cute. That's neat. Brought it home, popped in the cartridge, started playing, and oh man, it runs terribly. It runs so bad. You know what? I'm gonna turn on my I'm gonna share my. I actually have some footage recorded.
Oh boy!
Because I'm going to show you guys how this game runs.
This should be magical.
It is going to be magical because it's not pretty. This is from docked mode, by the way, not handheld mode. I don't have those methods of capture, and apparently handheld mode does run better. And from what I have experienced, that is true. But like that doesn't excuse how bad it runs in docked mode. So here we go. This is the game's horde mode, which is a cute little fun mode. And
nice jiggle physics.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations.
And you're like, so far, you're like, all right, this is okay.
Yeah.
And then the minute I fucking use this hammer, it's like, nope.
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
Wow.
I'm so proud of you.
Let's see if we
My
can get
little
some other.
man They're hammering down the law.
Yeah, it's and the weird thing about this game is that it's one of those games where they said it was supposed to be a 30 FPS cap, but it's not. It's an uncapped frame rate. So there's these very weird, awkward moments where you're playing and the game is hitting 60 FPS, but like you immediately turn around and the game dips to like 25. And the physics and the game logic are tied to the frame rate, so when the game slows down, it actually slows down, which makes aiming really, really awful feeling. And there's a myriad of other issues, like see, that's why I can never be a reviewer, because I see nothing wrong with that. I'm not much of a visual person. It's not a visual thing, it's a frame rate thing. It's not stable, it just doesn't run well. And there's other issues. Cutscenes are completely out of whack. There's like audio desync issues. Subtitles only work in cutscenes. And what it seems like is that they were planning for a day one patch to fix all of this, because they said on Twitter like a week and a half ago, like, oh yeah, there's going to be a day one patch, it's going to have performance boosts, it's going to have, you know, all this stuff, but it's now been delayed a week. So for the next week we just have this like unfinished rushed port of like a 9-year-old game.
Jeez.
I don't get it.
That's the modern game industry for you.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, it's like, looking back, it's kind of choppy, but I probably wouldn't notice while playing it. You will notice it, because, as I said, the frame rate, the logic of the game is tied to the frame rate, so the aiming feels really bad at times. I mean, Saints Row 3 is a fantastic game, and I really want to see how the game is with the update. Shadowlink and I will be doing a co-op stream, like, this upcoming week, preferably after the update is out, because we love that game. So, like, we want it to be a good port. But holy shit, right now, I mean, unless you just played in handheld mode, it's not a nice experience.
It's gonna thunderstorm, bros.
Badass.
Don't be surprised if like I randomly cut out because of a blackout. Like just full heads up. Uh-oh, my dogs are barking. If you hear them at any point, know that I am deeply sorry. My other dog is probably gonna come in here and because one of my dogs is blind, because he had glaucoma, so we had to get his eyes removed. And even when he had his eyes, whenever there was a thunderstorm, he'd panic. And so now because he can't see, he panics even more.
Aww.
So he bumps into a lot of things now. Like he knows his way around the house. He can tell how my closet door sounds. So if I open it, he knows I'm going somewhere, and half the time he thinks I'm about to take him on a walk, even though it's like even though he's blind, he still loves going on walks. But he'll also just be like, I can tell you're going on a walk, and he gets like really excited. But yeah, like he knows his way. He like knows where you're standing. Like he's just he like you would think the dog wouldn't know. Like he knows like when you're faking going outside, like you do a few fake foot taps outside, so he'll go outside and like use the restroom. Like no, he'll sit down and then he'll turn to you like, I know you're standing right there, and I'm just like yeah, he probably smells me or something, or like I didn't do a convincing job like faking my footsteps getting farther away or something.
Jeez.
It's tough because like when he's blind, he doesn't want to. He wants to stay inside most of the time. But he's like obviously able to tell when it's rained based on like the temperature, humidity, and just the general smell. And he never wants to go outside at those points. But yeah, don't be surprised if suddenly there's a dog just in here bumping into everything in here.
Noted.
Oh man.
Definitely noted.
I guess I also want to give a quick shout out to Counter-Strike Global Offensive for being still one of my favorite games of the last like decade.
Fair enough.
I know the big meme is that Valve doesn't make video games anymore, but Counter-Strike has had probably one of its like busiest, I think, just like bouts of adding content ever. Like the amount of updates they've been releasing in like the last half a year are insane. Like, it started in December where they made the game free to play and they added the new Battle Royale mode. And then since then, they've just been doing these, like, radical balance changes. They've been adding and updating maps like crazy. And they even just released a new Battle Royale map. Just out of the blue. And it's really neato. And I know Battle Royale is also kind of a dead meme, but like the CS:GO version of Battle Royale is actually really interesting. I really like it a lot, and the reason being is because it's it kind of doesn't play like anything else, because instead of 100 people, it's 18. The map is much smaller, so there's not as much just sitting around waiting for something to happen and then you get sniped from halfway across the map. There's like a lot of movement involved, which is interesting because Counter-Strike is also a game where you have to like slow down to take precision shots, or else your inaccuracy is like, you know, goes wild. But this new map, they added a bunch of features that are like completely new and unique to Counter-Strike, and they added this like kit you can buy called the Mobility Kit, and it's real neato because it's like this combination of, they added exo jumping boots, they added these things called bump mines that launch you into the air, and then they added a parachute. So the idea is that you super jump onto a high ledge. You then put down a bump mine, which launches you even further, and then you use the parachute to, like, glide over the map. Which is, like, it's really hard to describe in just words, but you get so much air, and it's so weird. It's like Titanfall levels of zooming yourself across the map, but in Counter-Strike, and it feels really fun to do. And
Interesting.
If you have a PC that can play video games from 2005, you should try, because to play Counter-Strike, you don't need a good computer at all. You just need like a manageable computer, and it's free. Just try it out. It's really fun. Wingman is also really fun, which is their like competitive 2v2 mode. Just don't play casual. Casual sucks.
As Phantom says, so it's like Super Fortnite.
It is. I mean, it really is. They did not, like, it does not feel rushed or like a cash in. It really does feel like a different battle royale game. It really does. It doesn't feel like anything else. It's kind of great. I tried playing CSGO for 30 minutes, wasn't a fan of it. Were you playing casual or like deathmatch? Because those two things are incredibly different and lead to a... The best way to start playing Counter-Strike IMO is to play competitive rules with bots. Because the casual mode... And when I say the casual mode is bad, I don't mean like, oh, it's not for the pro gamer like me. It's that casual mode is like 10v10 on these really tiny maps. It's just such a clusterfuck. It's like not meant to work like that. But if you play like the normal like 5v5 rules, or you play even the other game modes that are fun as shit, like a gun game, or just like deathmatch or flying scoutsman or wingman, it's so fun. It's so good. I love it. Highly recommend it.
Video games are pretty awesome.
They really are.
Yeah, video games are pretty awesome, but it's really weird when a video game's not so awesome. Yet, this is a bad segue. They get a movie. Detective Pikachu's a thing.
Yeah, I just went and saw that last night.
I'm seeing it today.
Ooh.
So shut up.
In 5.5 hours, to be exact.
Nice.
Okay.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I spent $50 on tickets. I better enjoy it.
What?
I bought 2 3D tickets.
Oh my god.
Wait,
Okay,
it's
let me
in
explain.
3D?
Let me explain. Movie times are awful.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one theater that I was gonna go see, that I bought tickets for, they only had the normal, regular, not 3D screenings of Detective Pikachu for 10:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 9 p.m. What the fuck is that? And then in 3D, they had it at 3 o'clock, 5:30, 7 o'clock. Like why?
That is weird.
Like, why? So I didn't really have much of a choice. I ended up getting it in 3D. So that's it's like $23 plus tax per person.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just wrong,
I just my somewhat local drive-in theater just opened up for the season yesterday, so I ended up going to see that last night, and also Shazam.
I like Shazam.
It's like $10 per adult for 2 movies, so it's pretty good. But no, it was a fun night.
I really liked Shazam more than I thought I would, actually.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that.
I've told Colin, like, go, like, if there are any, like, recent superheroes you could watch and say are, like, good, it'd be, like, Shazam and, like, Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm like, all the others you can largely skip over. Like, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, I saw, like, Captain Marvel, I've seen Aquaman, but I'm just like, they're fine, they're whatever. Like I'm not a fan of the Ant-Man movies, to be honest. I really hate
Really?
those.
Okay.
I shouldn't say hate when it's more like I don't care.
That's fair.
Fair.
I think even though I don't care, I still think Ant-Man's better than like Captain Marvel. But you know what? Detective Pikachu's better than Captain Marvel. So like
Of course.
I probably got similar levels of enjoyment to Ant-Man as I did with Detective Pikachu. But I think Detective Pikachu, the people in Ant-Man can actually, for the most part, act. The two leads in Detective Pikachu can't.
Ooh.
They can't. The main guy can act better than the girl. I'll tell you that much. But
Okay, when you said the main, I'm like the guy in Ryan Reynolds.
no, not Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds is technically the star of that movie.
Ryan Reynolds is basically the guy who saves that movie. Like, it's a shame they blew their load in that movie. Let me see. Oh, he made an indie film that's won at a few festivals. Okay, is it that Uncle Gareth movie? I think it was called. I can't remember. But anyways, what was I going on about? The two leads they're not that great.
Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds saves that movie, like hands down saves that movie. It's just
Foreshadowing to the Sonic movie.
it's there's a guy on Reddit who did an AMA recently, but no one can confirm if he's seen the Sonic movie. But he's also, yes, Uncle Gareth has Miles like as the main character, right? Pizza. So you can tell where like Detective Pikachu's going. It doesn't do anything exceptional for the most part. It's a very lovingly crafted world, I'll say. Like the world building's nice. It's very weird that they changed the ending from the video game, but it was the change I suspected would happen most.
Yeah.
Wasn't really too keen on it because it raises the question: how are they going to do Detective Pikachu 2 when that's confirmed already? Like before the movie even came out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's confirmed. It's happening. It's either way. I won't spoil it. Colin already probably knows how it's going to end, though.
I can assume, but don't say it.
Yeah, don't say it. It just came out.
Detective Pikachu drinks a lot of coffee and ODs.
I mean, listen. Detective Pikachu isn't even the most I've spent on a movie ticket, so let's...
What was?
Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I've told this story, but also, I just realized my volume for you guys was down, so it should be better now? I
don't know.
But, oof, that's a big yikes. But, no, I went to go see, okay, so I went to go see Spider-Verse, and it was sold out everywhere. Just fucking, you could not go see that movie. It was sold out. So, but me and my friend really wanted to go see a movie. So we were like, they were telling me about this like theater that their friend works at. That's like, it's one of those dine-in movie theaters, but instead of it being like an AMC or an Alamo Draft House, where like an AMC is like where you get like Applebee's style food, an Alamo Draft House is mostly just like booze. This one's like a steakhouse and a movie theater. So the ticket for entry was $26. And that's for like a normal 2D screening of Wreck-It Ralph 2. And then of course I had to buy food, because that's the point. So I think the total bill ended up being like, I don't fucking know, like $40 for like for my entire experience, because I got like a sandwich and a drink and everything. And that movie is not
silly.
worth $40. That movie is not worth $20. That movie's not worth $10. It's worth $5. I was not a fan of Wreck-It Ralph 2. Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Fair.
Oh my gosh.
Broke you, I guess.
So this is like a really head-ass thing I said on Twitter earlier, but like people are actually asking no one spoil, of all things, Final Fantasy VII now that the remake's coming out. And I've just got to say, how do you ask not to be spoiled on a moment so momentous? It is basically the video game equivalent of Darth Vader revealing he's Luke's
I was
father.
about to make that comparison, yeah.
I'm like, it is so ingrained in pop culture, at least gaming culture, that Square uses it freely in their promo material. I understand video games are like not, even though I believe they're the most profitable industry, right? Or entertainment medium. Either way, it's like, I always hear the biggest thing being like, some people are either not Final Fantasy fans, or they're too young to care about, or they're too young. And also, I'm just kind of like, well, I don't know about that, because when I was like 10, I knew the big shocking twist of Final Fantasy VII, which I'm not going to mention, because I don't know if everyone here knows the actual thing, you know?
Surprisingly, I don't. I'm pretty in the dark when it comes to Final Fantasy.
Really?
How?
Well, I'm just like, but yeah, it's just one of those. It's like the Sheik was Zelda thing. Like it's just kind of everyone knows. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially because Smash. Like I call it a hunch, but I think Smash might have done something about that.
Yeah.
Also, remember when they revealed Cloud for Final Fantasy VII, and they had like a little scene with Cloud and Zelda reenacting that scene? It was so cute. Well, actually, I'm not sure if it was that scene specifically or the scene where Cloud falls through the roof into the church, but either way. Actually, I'm going to get... Wait, let me see. I've been doing hypothetical character moveset, so Miles does live action segment. Oh, really? Well, I hope you guys are having fun, Pizza. Like I said, I haven't spoken to the others because I kind of just broke contact. Oddly enough, the month before I broke contact was literally the month I started talking to Colin. And then I was introduced to a new batch of friends who have forever ruined me. Thank you.
Ooh.
It's very weird. Like the only person I really still speak to from my old batch of friends are Barry and Rory. I don't really talk to like Will or Chris, or I told you, right, Colin? Like there was like a Quentin Reviews public meet, and he was one of the guys. He was the guy who was just like, who greets like Quentin, and for some reason is just like hanging around Quentin the whole time. Literally, like, if anyone dares touch my boyfriend, I'll scratch you.
Okay.
What?
It was just a thing. I saw Chris like in this Quentin Reviews like public meetup thing. Oh, you all lost contact with Will? I hope nothing bad happened. He was like pretty troubled when I left. Not like troubled, but like he.
Man, I hope you guys. I hope you guys aren't playing FF7 on Switch. Oh no, it looks like you guys are playing FF7 on Switch. Don't. Oh, I can't stop you now.
Wait, what's going on?
Don't buy any modern port of FF7. It's not good.
It's no bueno.
It's no bueno. I mean, you should. Okay, like the two best ways of playing FF7 are you either get the PlayStation 1 original, whether that be an actual physical fucking copy of FF7, which is dirt cheap now, or you buy it off of like the PSP, PS Vita, or the
PSN store,
the
just
PSN
like use the
store.
blanket.
Or you should play the PC version with mods. And the reason being is because they lost the source code for FF7 a long ass time ago, because Square just loves to delete source code.
Oh my god.
That is the main reason we don't like have a real modern port of Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the new versions of Final Fantasy VII are based on like the 1998 like unfinished PC version that got released anyway. And like it's got very weird frame rate I know I'm going back into frame rate, but no, this one's actually important, kids. Because the original FF7 on PS1 runs at 60 FPS the whole time. The whole time, whether you're running around or you're in battles, it's 60 FPS the whole time. The modern PC version is 30 FPS when you're walking around and 15 in battles. And I don't know why Square has never fixed this, because fans have been able to fix it with mods. So I don't know why they haven't, tried at least to kind of fix it, but they haven't. And so the ports of FF7 for PS4 and Switch are based on that PC version with like the really fucked frame rates, and like it really messes with the timing of battles, like hardcore. It's not great.
On the subject, because the people in chat are saying like they lose the source code for Kingdom Hearts 1. They did. I believe though they ripped a lot of assets from a like actual product version. Okay, yeah, okay. I hope Will's doing fine then. Like, yeah, that would have been troublesome if like he did something like, but no. I'm not sure. Those models look pretty much like the exact same models, obviously with better textures though. They did have to remake it. I don't know how they quote unquote remade it, but that thing is like the same game for the most part, like down to a T. The only difference I believe are physics. The physics are a little off. Otherwise, no, it's like fine. Like, but yeah, Final Fantasy VII. I'm actually gonna grab the PC version later today, and I'm gonna install the. Okay. I downloaded a bunch of mods, but there's a really interesting like fan retranslation mod out there, which notoriously the original Final Fantasy VII translation is horrendous. It was basically made within 2 weeks by one man at Sony Computer Entertainment America or whatever, SCEA, whatever. And yeah, he had such a super strict deadline for this thing, which is how you get the infamous things like "this guy are sick" or
yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Yeah, and even though they've like touched up a bit of the translation in recent years and like the modern ports to actually fix it to be like "this guy is sick," like it's still not like a literal translation, you know. Yeah. There are little nuances in certain ways characters speak that are completely different. If you've ever played Final Fantasy VII and then watched Advent Children and wondered why Kate Sith has a Scottish accent, it's because he's supposed to have a Scottish accent in Final Fantasy VII that was just not translated into English at all. Which is why there's a certain scene where you're speaking to Reeve, who is actually the person controlling the Kate Sith doll, who he gives like a little, he like lets it slip when he's talking to you in person. He does like a very temporary Scottish accent that gives away that, oh, like he's Kate Sith. And the characters comment on it, but because the accent is never written out, it just comes off as like a weird nonsensical moment that the players picked up on, that the characters picked up on, and that the player possibly couldn't have. So you get little things like that. Like there's also like another thing in Advent Children where Cloud says not interested, and that's actually like a reoccurring thing that he says it a lot in Final Fantasy VII's Japanese script, but in the English script it was translated differently to be like different ways of just saying not interested, uninterested, I don't care. So you get like weird little stuff like that from the Final Fantasy VII translation. I don't know if Cloud actually says "Let's mosey on out of here" in the Japanese version, but I really hope that when I play this retranslation mod, it's still in there. I hope that in the remake, Cloud still says "Let's mosey." Like, I'm actually going to be very upset if that's not in there, to be honest. Like, that is one of the things that is still in the back of my mind. I want them to say "Let's mosey." Also, weird detail that I don't know if you ever noticed, but like, because it's only really mentioned once. Cloud's claustrophobic, and like no one really mentions it, but it's like really cute when you see it happen. I like it. Final Fantasy VII is, I would say, it is probably the easiest Final Fantasy to play. I don't think I would say it's the best, but it's definitely the easiest to like pick up and play and get through.
I think that's fair.
What about Mystic Quest?
I have. Fuck you. So
Mystic Quest is oddly like a chore to play. Like it's not even that it's like easy. It's just like it's just fucking tedious.
Oh my god,
it's so awful.
By the way, the guy who did this retranslation mod got a lot of shit from fans for retranslating the game. Like, a lot of people are saying, I don't care how bad the original was. It was the one I grew up with. And they're also saying, like, you can't erase canon or some dumb shit like that. And he's like, you know, if my script was the original script, like, would you be saying like you'd still be saying the same thing if someone else retranslated it? And I'm like, it's kind of like an iffy argument, but I get it. It's a completely hypothetical thing. But the thing he got the biggest shit for, I think, was properly translating Aerith's name. So, like, the obvious...
Right, I remember this.
Yeah, her name ends with an S in the Final Fantasy VII. Everything else, it is a TH. But in Final Fantasy VII, it's an S. And the creator said it's supposed to be a combination of air and earth for Aerith. So it is a TH. Like, Square themselves confirmed this. In the official guide in Japan, it's even a TH. So a lot of people just gave him shit for it, and I'm wondering how people are going to respond to that in the remake.
Old argument should just come back again.
I'm like, you know, the original it also, you get a lot of that stuff there. Like, Safer Sephiroth is definitely not supposed to be Safer Sephiroth. It's supposed to be Seraph Sephiroth. But yeah, lots of little stuff like that. I'm going to play through the translation. This guy on Kotaku has this very interesting series where he plays through Final Fantasy VII, and he documents like all the little nuances in speech that just weren't translated over to the English version. Like, he says in the opening sequence, like, I believe he says this in the opening sequence, and he actually gives you everything. He breaks down the speech in a way that you can easily understand. He says in the English intro, Cloud really comes off as this guy who doesn't like care about anything. But in the Japanese version, if you look at the text, he's actually kind of being playful with the main characters. Like, instead of like being like, I don't care, he's saying I don't care like in a sarcastic way in the Japanese script. He's being a lot more playful. He's not as like emo as everyone makes him out to be. Like, it's very interesting, and like Aerith is actually way more of a tomboy in the Japanese version than she's depicted as in the English version.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of little nuances like that just weren't translated over, but obviously, chances are for the remake, it will be translated over for the most part, I would say. Hopefully. Like, it really depends on who's doing the localization and how that's handled. Because the thing about localization is you obviously have to carry the intent of what's being said, And the thing is that you also have to carry the tone, and the English version didn't really carry the tone with everything.
Right.
So yeah, 7 notoriously iffy translation. First boss, the boss character tells you, hit it when its tail is up, or else it'll counterattack. When really she means to say, don't hit it when its tail is up, or else it'll counterattack. Yeah, a lot of people had problems with that. But yeah, enough of that. I like game localization. Localization's fascinating. I should probably do a video on localization because I really like localization. Kokoro is a very weird one. A lot of people know Kokoro translates to heart, but it does not literally mean heart. It is more like heart as in like one's emotions.
Yeah.
The word for heart in Japanese, like your organ, is completely different. Which caused a lot of issues when they localized Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. Because they translated the word for soul and kokoro to both be heart in English. Which creates a lot of confusion in that game. Yes, Shinzo is heart, like the actual organ for your heart. What is the best Final Fantasy? That one's a tough one. I personally like 4 the most, but I would say overall the best Final Fantasy is probably undoubtedly like 9, or I don't know if I'd say 6. I would say it's probably like 9. Like 9 is actually just that good.
It's not 15, Brian.
Get in the car, boys. We're going on a suicide mission.
The only
I mean, that is that game. What?
The only Final Fantasy game I actually have any experience with is Crystal Chronicles, and I believe that's getting a remake that I'm actually looking forward to.
It's getting a re-release. And also, I'm very sorry you played Crystal Chronicles.
I played it with family growing up.
I would say, so here's what I'd say. Final Fantasy 1 is super okay. Final Fantasy 2, the black sheep of the franchise. Everyone knows this. It is pretty much true if you play it. Final Fantasy 3, I like Final Fantasy 3, but it's not that great, if we're being honest. I like 4 a lot. I personally adore 4. I think that game does a lot of interesting things in how it tells its story through its mechanics. And like character abilities. 5, 6, pretty good. Also, when I said 5, if you had seen my face, I did like a pout, like saying it exists, and I did like a wave of the hand. 6 exists. 6 is pretty good. I don't know if I would say 6 is definitely like the Persona 3 to the Persona 4 that is Final Fantasy 7. 8 is like the Persona 2 of the series, in that it is mechanically the one that has the most depth to it, but unlike Persona 2, which actually has really good structure to it, 8 just is kind of fucking weird. Like, the structure is all over the place, and the fact that enemies scale in level with you is really odd. I would say 8 also has a little bit of weird going on with its localization. Like, I believe Squall, Leon, if you want to call him, Squall's thing is like he's always like constantly saying whatever, right? Like, I don't care. In the Japanese version, he is not as apathetic. He actually does show like a bit more concern in things. He's not actually saying whatever. He's saying like a much more... What would you say is a word that's similar to like whatever, but it actually shows that you care? Like, it's not necessarily brushing everything off or showing you don't care, but more so like there are other things that are more urgent. Like, I get it, but we gotta do this thing first. Like, Squall's... It's been a while since I've looked into 8's localization, but it's definitely like... It's got some weird stuff. 9, pretty much ideal Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 10, pretty much less ideal Final Fantasy. Like, it's a little weird. Colin had actually sent me a video about this guy who did a big ass comparison. I think, who was it? Like Spoonie or someone?
Yeah.
Like, he did a big comparison, and his conclusion was Final Fantasy X-2 might actually be better than 10.
Because 10-2 doesn't, like, really take itself so goddamn seriously.
I like the
Which, by the way, it is
dressier-
such a goddamn shame you can't buy 10 and 10-2 separately from each other on Switch. You have to buy both together.
yeah.
That's so lame. That's so fucking lame.
10-2, I like the dress fierce. I think in terms of like combat, I would definitely give the edge to 10-2. As for 10 itself, I'm kind of like whatever on it. Honestly, you know, the weird thing, my first Final Fantasy was actually 10-2. It's very weird. When I visited my Mormon family in Idaho, the first thing I see is like my uncle just sitting there playing Final Fantasy X-2, and I don't know why that's the first, like, the main memory that sticks with me. But no, like 10-2, they're like of similar quality. Like, they're fine. I don't think they're as great as everyone says they are. I don't think the romance is as profound and deep as everyone says it is. I think it's a pretty competent game, though. I think it knows what it's doing. I don't think you can really fault the game for anything, but it's definitely like not that masterpiece everyone says it is, in my opinion. 11's an MMO. Never played it. 12, I actually like 12, but it is very clear. Vaughn and Pinello, I believe is her name, shoehorned in. Absolutely shoehorned in.
Ooh.
Because for some reason they couldn't accept making Balthier like the main character, because I think they feared like alienating the main audience. So you get like your everyday people who are thrown into the story. Balthier and Fran are way better leads, let me tell you. Like, way better. Balthier is basically Final Fantasy's Han Solo, but I like him a lot more, and he's got the big bunny lady. So you know what? He gets a pass. I like 12 a lot. Does not reach its potential, though. I understand why people do not like that game, or at least are disappointed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy 13. My Hands is a song featured in Final Fantasy 13. I send it to my friend to annoy him. 13.2. 13.2 has way better structure, way better pacing than 13. That one's actually a good game. Lightning Returns. I actually really like Lightning Returns. I don't care about the story at all. I do really like Lightning Returns. I would say 14, what I have played of it, it's like a fine MMO. 15 is just a disappointment.
Ooh.
If the character interactions are really fun, but like the story itself is like definitely rushed through. Like nothing gets the proper time to build or like be expanded the way it should, and the gameplay is kind of a mess. So yeah, best Final Fantasies 4 and 9. Take it from me. The guy who says the best Persona is 2 and the worst one is 1, but 5 is a very close second to being the worst one.
Ooh.
As for my favorite Fire Emblem, because I'm looking at the chat. My favorite Fire Emblem is either Path of Radiance or Echoes. Persona 5, though, I have a notoriously bad relationship with that game. As stated at the beginning of this, I played it 3 times to figure out why I didn't like it, and my conclusion was the game literally thinks the player's an actual retard. Level design is fucking horrible, the writing is garbage, the pacing is terrible, and the demon negotiation, you only ever have to get the second question right. There's no depth to it. The combat has been homogenized to the point where essentially half the cast is the same character in terms of how they mechanically function. It is not challenging in the slightest. it is a very Persona 5 out of 10 for me. It doesn't have the focus it should, and that's like the thing Personas 3 and 4 had. They were way more focused. Their individual pieces may not have been as good, but they are definitely more focused.
Mm-hmm.
So they're greater than the sum of their parts, but because Persona 5's unfocused, it's weaker than the sum of its parts. Persona 5, though, I will give it this incredibly good game feel. Like, that game feel is fucking spot on.
That's one way. Yeah.
But if you know me, there's more to a game than just how it feels.
Yeah.
There's other parts that go into it. Like I said, level design, structure, pacing, all that stuff. Like, pretty much ask anyone about Persona 5, they're going to tell you, right once you hit the Okumura dungeon, aka the Burger Palace, that game falls off.
I would argue before you even hit that palace, because it's like as soon as Haru gets introduced, because Morgana has
a very contrived reason to abandon the party. The thing about Persona 5, the minute I knew this game was going to play it as safe as possible was when I got to the end of the first dungeon. Right there and then I knew it was going to play it safe. And right as I hit use case part, I could see that it had cold feet immediately. And I was just kind of like, yeah. And then you hit Makoto's dungeon. Makoto doesn't really relate to her antagonist for some reason. She kind of just gets pissy and is like, that's the guy I want to take down. And as some of my friends have put it, it's very obvious her villain was actually meant to be the principal. Like, yeah. And then Futaba's is weird. Like, the game literally breaks its own logic to get Futaba inside her own palace so she can awaken to her persona. Because her shadow self actually starts communicating with her. And, you know, it only does this for this one reason, because it literally has no idea how to get her to where she needs to be. So he writes up mumbo jumbo. And you see, I would have been fine with that if, like, the main villain actually started communicating with, like, his own shadow self by the end of it. Like, that's kind of the thing about Persona 5 for me. It's a lot of potential, a lot of missed potential. As much as I don't like Persona 5, I am hopeful for Persona 5 The Royal to fix a lot of my grievances with this game. However, it is being handled by the guy who did the Confidants for Persona 5, which are notoriously a letdown. Literally, characters will have problems, the main character will solve them, and the character in the Confidant will somehow learn a lesson and treat it as though they overcame a harsh trial themselves, so they all really fall flat. Also, date Kawakami. She is the best girl. I love Kawakami. She is adorable. She is cute. As for the soundtrack of 5, my only real issue with the soundtrack of 5 is that I don't think the singer they chose has powerful enough of voice for some of the things. Yeah, it is the director of Persona 4 Golden, but, like, you have to remember, like, it's kind of weird. Like, you can do one thing well and then screw up the next thing, but do one thing bad and then do well on the next thing. Which is why I'm still like, Persona 5 The Royal's one of those, I gotta play it and see for myself things.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I hate base Persona 5. I think it's average. But Persona 5 The Royal I am open to. I've tried so hard to like Persona 5. Know what I mean? But sometimes you can't force yourself to love something.
No, of course. Evidently you tried, you played it.
I really tried. A lot of my issues were in the combat and the level design, because I tried to see if, like, the combat redeemed itself on hard mode and merciless, but hard mode is still pretty easy. It's definitely harder, but you kind of offset that by just, like, grinding a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the thing with merciless is, like, everyone just deals more damage. You deal more damage, they deal more damage. The only actual walls are, like, the bosses, but even then, they're like still for the most part they're pretty easy. The only one that's like actually a wall in Persona 5 for me is the painter guy. But he's just like hard on any difficulty.
Yeah.
He's like a really weird early game difficulty spike. I think the main reason, this is gonna sound really pretentious of me.
All right.
The main reason I came out not liking Persona 5 is that JRPGs are like right next to action games like Devil May Cry. That's like my favorite genre. Mm-hmm. And the game I want to make after I finish this shmup I'm making, I really want to make a JRPG. And a lot of what I studied like the Persona games to figure out how I would make a Persona, like not a Persona game, but a JRPG. And Persona 5 kind of ended up being the one I took the most negatives away from and the least positives. Like, it has the polish to be a very good feeling game. It's just the content of the package is what upsets me. Persona 4 Golden, I think, is a nice middle ground between Persona 3 and Persona 5. It is definitely like dumbed down from there's a thing where like ever since Persona 2, each new Persona game has been dumbed down. So like going from Persona 5 to 1, the games only get like more complex and have a lot more depth to them. But I would say even though like Persona 2 might not have as much depth technically as Persona 1, it places enough restrictions on you to make you get the most out of its combat system, which is why for me Persona 2 is like the best entry in the series.
Which iteration of 2? Aren't there 2?
There 2 is a duology.
Okay.
I've beaten Innocent Sin. I've only played a bit of Eternal Punishment.
Okay.
But from like what I played of Innocent Sin, I was like, oh, this is the best one.
Okay.
3 was my introduction to the franchise, though. That game did a lot for me. Like I had just graduated high school when I played 3. So most of the things I took away from it were things I applied to like when I was in college. Like I started to be more outgoing. I stopped having existential crises as much, and I joined like school clubs and shit. Right? And I really enjoyed it. Like Persona 3 and 4, well, not 4. 3 like really helped me get out of my shell. But that game does like have big gameplay issues. Dungeons are randomly generated, but you know what? I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and they say even though the dungeons are like randomly generated, like because it's like kind of not the point of that game, like it kind of ends up becoming a non-issue, but I can definitely see how others would take issue with it.
Yeah.
Persona 3 on PS2 does this thing where your characters get tired the more they are in a dungeon or on a floor, the more you're using them in your party. So they'll just like, if they get tired, they'll just leave your party and go. And the idea there is that you're supposed to mix and match your party members.
Yeah.
Persona 3 Portable alleviates this a little bit more, where your characters can't get tired, but if they're in a great mood, they will enter a good state, and that's basically like just your normal state, and they won't leave your party or anything more. So it's like a more serviceable 3 for a lot of people. 3 definitely took like a lot more risks, and that's probably because the director of 3 had just finished making Shin Megami Tensei 3. So yeah, Persona 3 onward, completely different director than 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
And with each game, they kind of lose focus a bit more. Persona 4 Golden would have actually been a really cool opportunity for them to reintroduce Persona 2's rumor system, in my opinion, because it's all about like these characters are appearing on this thing called the Midnight Channel, and everyone, and it's because everyone in town is interested in this person at that time.
Yeah.
Right? So like you'll see him on the news in daytime, and so everyone's like, this kid named Kanji's been beating up the local ruffians. Midnight Channel. Who is that? It's Kanji, you moron. And then it's just like, but you never really see more of how others like perceive Kanji. Like the way other characters perceive Kanji doesn't affect his dungeon because they are still randomly generated.
Yeah.
Personas 1, 2, and 5 are the only Persona games that have pre-designed dungeons. And I think it would have been interesting if in Persona 4 they introduced the rumor system again, because shadow characters were actually a thing introduced in Persona 2. Oddly enough, even though every character in Persona, like, there is only one character who ever rejects his shadow self and walks away, like, completely fine, and it's the main character of Persona 2. Either way, it's like, it would have been neat to use the rumor system to, like, influence how dungeons are, like, the contents of the dungeons are structured or, like, affected based on, like, the rumors you spread about the characters while the characters' dungeon section is taking place. Know what I mean? Like,
that would be interesting, actually.
My main thing with Persona 5 is that, like, it has all these meters, but it's, like, kind of easy to downplay the stealth meter. Like, you hit one enemy, the meter goes down 12%, and then you have this, like, fan gauge, like, that rises as you're going through the story. Thing for me, Sonic Forces also has a gauge like that.
It's come full circle.
Yeah, it's come full circle. Where you're taking down Eggman's army, and as you're beating the game, like, you see a push, like, your side is starting to win the battle. But those meters never really affected me because of how superficial they were to the gameplay experience. They don't actually affect the gameplay. And so I pitched this idea that because social media is, like, such a big part of Persona 5, it would have been interesting if instead of having a stealth meter and a fan meter, they were combined into a notoriety meter. And notoriety gave your party members more abilities in battle, but it also made the enemy more aware of the player's existence. And the notoriety meter increased with the further along you got with confidants instead. So everything is like, so now this meter, instead of just being there, it's affecting everything. So it becomes this big part in how you play everything out. And someone was like, that would have been, like, super cool because you have you have a friend who's running your social media. You have, like, Oya, I believe is her name, who's a journalist. You literally befriend a politician. You have a teacher. You have a doctor. Like, everyone can, like, just be, like, helping you out, really. Like, literally, that's all you really need, though. The journalist, the politician, and the guy running your social media page. Like, that would have been amazing. And I'm like, this is what really disappoints me about Persona 5. It has so much potential, and when I read interviews, this game obviously had a troubled development. Games just don't get delayed when everything's going smoothly. The developer even said early on, yes, this game was troubled. Like, from the very start, development did not go over smoothly. But the original idea he had was, like, having a single character wander either around Japan or the world. And that idea sounds so much more interesting to me than what Persona 5 ultimately ended up being, because it just ended up being Persona 3 for the third time. And it's definitely more polished. It has a lot more quality of life enhancements. I do like these things. Even though I'm very harsh on Persona 5, it does a lot of things right at the same time. And I'm kind of like, it's kind of disappointing. And the main thing I like about this notoriety meter is because the baton pass is something only one character will ever get in your party. The game is not balanced around every character in your party having the baton pass. So once you get the baton pass, that game goes from easy to cakewalk. And And I think the notoriety meter actually affecting you getting the baton pass and making it so enemies also, not necessarily they get a baton pass, but the game balance and AI is restructured to accommodate for the player having the baton pass. So they have to think more methodically about how they handle situations. And the more you get the player thinking about the game, like the more, like, you obviously don't want the player remembering, you don't want the player knowing that there's a controller in their hand. They just want to think about how they're going to act in the game world. And if your game can do that effectively, if you can get them thinking about how to tackle the game itself, and obviously with like very good polish and like not forcing it upon them in a very specific way, like, you're going to have a character, you're going to have a player who's going to want to explore the ins and outs of that game to its fullest. And that's why people really liked Shin Megami Tensei 3. That game was so hard, but so balanced, so fair in its difficulty. And this is why people like games like Shin Megami Tensei 3 or Devil May Cry 5. Like, they're very fair, except for the fucking one enemy in Devil May Cry 5 that teleports everywhere. Fuck that guy. Like, it is very much about knowing what you can and can't do and exploiting them to their fullest. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about Persona 5. Everything is so heavily stacked in the player's favor that they never really get to appreciate the game to its fullest. And that's what I would want from Persona 5, the Royal. A game that makes you search the ins and outs of its systems so you can get the most out of it. And that's what I want from Persona 6. Persona 6 is going to have a different director. The guy directing who did Personas 3 through 5 is now making this other game called like Project Re-Fantasy. I hope it turns out well, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But there you go. There's my big spiel on Persona 5 and why I didn't like it as much as others, and what I think it could have done better. And I'm sorry for taking up so much time. I have been wanting to do a video on Persona 5 for so long, but I've just never gotten around to it because the reason I've stopped making videos so frequently, or just in general, is that I tend to overthink what I write. So instead of writing out an initial draft, I'll write out one sentence and then I'll pick that sentence apart for like an hour. And that's not a good way to write. That's not how I wrote videos at first, but
at
I don't
least
recommend.
At least it's that you're getting stuck in the process, though. In my case, I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to do anything.
I should get back to it. I think like if I were to go do it, I would do a Sonic Generations and Forces comparison. I'd finally do part 2 of my Fully Cooley video, and I'll do a video talking about the localization of Final Fantasy 7 or 13. I don't know, because that stuff's fascinating to me. I do want to do like a video series dissecting each Persona game and just what I thought they did right and wrong.
That's fair.
And in between that, I'll just do whatever. Like, I could just do vlog style shit. I've been wanting. Colin said like to me a while ago, like, Brian, I think you should restart your channel, but you should start small. And you know what? That's probably for the actual best. Mm-hmm. But my question is, what do I start with? That's like the thing stopping me right now. I have no idea what should be my first one. I have no idea.
Whichever one you think will be the most successful.
See, no, like,
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
I don't want to do that right off the bat, because if that goes up and it's not successful, that's going to be a hit to my ego so fucking hard. Yeah.
So we ought to wrap up.
I'm so sorry.
Because I gotta go.
Do we have any like last things anyone?
I do have a few last things I want to bring up.
Let's go ahead.
First off, congratulations to Triss, who got engaged.
Oh,
Aww.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That was over the last week, right? Or was that
Yes,
2 weeks ago? I was in Orlando. I lost a lot of time, a lot of track of time.
2 weeks ago now. So yeah,
Ah.
I had a really busy last 2 weeks because last weekend I graduated college, and then the weekend before that I proposed to my boyfriend, who's now my fiance. So yeah,
Badass.
Congratulations.
And then,
Congrats.
I guess the
Thank you.
one last thing, I guess the thing we'll end on, is the stupidest thing to end on, is the fact that Capcom finally announced that they're bringing Devil May Cry to the Nintendo Switch, but it's just the first one.
yeah.
I went, like, what the fuck?
I thought it would have been like the
HD collection, yeah. Seems
step
like
at
it
a
would
time,
be
I
the
guess.
easiest one to do, but no, it's just the first one.
One step at a time, I guess.
Dante for Smash.
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
think it'd be cool.
I love Dante. I still remember the day I was introduced to Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry. My friend lent me a copy of Devil May Cry 3, and I went home. I played it. It was so euphoric, guys. I love that game. It's so good, man. You know, it's weird thinking about games from your childhood and remember them looking like amazing, like cutting edge, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like the next generation comes along and you're like, nah, this is cutting. And then you look back on Prototype and you're like, how did I ever?
There's a
Anyway.
few games from the 360 generation that still hold up amazingly well.
Oh yeah, like Gears of War 3,
Yeah.
Tales of Vesperia, those games like hold up.
Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and 4 still look fantastic on
I
the
would
original
not
hardware.
say so much for like 3. 3's definitely one of the better looking early games.
3 is clean. 3 is very clean.
3 is very simple and clean, sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
simple
I guess
and
it's be-
clean.
actually, you know what? Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, the best one.
There you go.
When is that coming to Switch? Like for real? Like honestly, Square could do a Capcom and just say like, we're just bringing Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix to Switch, and I'd be like, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. There are only 3 good Kingdom Hearts games, and you chose the best one. I'm proud of you, Square.
So anyway, that's our show. I'd like to
Johnny.
I'd like
Oh
to
my
thank
God.
Triss and Liquid and Brian for joining us today.
I'm sorry for going on so hard about Persona 5.
Tune in next week when I actually talk about Universal Studios Florida.
I'm so sorry, Colin. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's really fun.
It's fine. All right.
Hey, I got educated on a series I've never touched before, so hey, that hour long rant was kind of worth it.
Holy shit, Liquid, you can talk.
Of course I can talk. I've just never played Persona or Final Fantasy or any of this stuff. I'm serious.
It was interesting to hear all about Final Fantasy. I will say yes.
Yeah.
How do you
Anyway,
contribute
have a
to
good
series
one,
that
guys.
you've never even played.
have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.